Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program, Spectra. Stereotypes, prejudice, stigma, bigotry are all members of one family. A family that tends to alienate, marginalize, put other people aside. And definitely, it's not a very welcoming family. Unfortunately, nowadays, like always, this family still prevails. A lot of people today tend to judge other people before knowing them. They judge them just by looks. And unfortunately, sometimes this judgment stays. So, to what extent can we tolerate something like this? And how can we overcome it? What are the sources of this? To know more about this, I'm really delighted today to be accompanied by two very special guests, starting in alphabetical order, because I have two gentle ladies with me tonight, so no ladies first. So I'm starting with alphabetical order. First, joining us from Bahrain is Naveen Hussain. Naveen, hello and welcome to the program.
Hi, Muhammad. Thank you for inviting me to this meeting. And thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, absolutely. And second, again, because only of alphabetical order, is Nurhan Ibrahim joining us here from Canada. Hello, Nurhan.
Hello, Muhammad. Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. And just before we delve more into the crypts of this topic here, I'd like to share with our audience is that both of them are very intimate friends. Mm-hmm. Now, to start off, as people can see here in the picture, you might look differently, like, you know, the outer look might be different. So my first question to you, Naveen, like if you see someone in the street that looks like Nurhan, someone who's dressed like Nurhan, would this trigger any kind of image in your head, any kind of a stereotype in your head or not?
For me, it's a bit different because I train my brain in a way to accept people, whether with the looks or the personalities or whatever. So I would never judge any person by the looks. For me, if I see Nurhan or I see anyone in the street, there will be zero judgment unless they do something that trigger the judgment, or they did something in the street that made me feel that this might resonate to something else or something like that. But with the look itself, I would stop myself from even thinking of judging others.
So you don't judge by looks. You don't judge by, you know, like the external features of someone.
No.
This is not in your agenda.
At all, no. Because like this, I put them in the zones and the segments, which is something I do not want to do. As I told you earlier, it's for me to accept people is not to put anyone in any zones or brackets or whatever, because that will define my way of dealing with them in the future. So this is something I don't want to do. Only their ways of dealing with me will reflect the other way of me dealing with them. So no, for prejudgment is not in my books, no.
Okay, thank you very much. And the same question, Nurhan. How would you judge someone looking like Naveen?
Yeah, so whether somebody who's looking like Naveen or different from Naveen, I tend to do something a little bit different than what Naveen said, because I categorize people in a very positive zone at the beginning, which puts me in trouble sometimes. So I deal with everyone in a very positive perspective, or with a very positive perspective, until they prove to me the otherwise. So, for example, I would assume that she's a very kind person, that she's very lovely and funny and outgoing, and until this is, defied by her actions or her deeds later on. I think I need to train myself to reach the point that Naveen has reached now, which is not to categorize anyone and let their acts and their deeds, their words speak about themselves.
Okay, and now we've heard how both of you would sort of describe or would look at other people who look like both of you. But let me ask this question directly to each one of you now. So, Naveen, do most people judge you the way that Nurhan judged you, or were there different, judgments?
I would say, because I'm always smiling, so I would say I get always that positive response. I was like, she's a positive person, that's right. But I wouldn't like also to be prejudged in any negative way or any wrong way. So I would more likely to be happy having no judgment, and other than a judgment that would tend to be wrong. Maybe this time I was sad, maybe I was angry, I was happy. Prejudgment puts you in a zone that might somehow one day you need to always maintain this level, and if you break one of these levels, then you will be underestimated, or you break other people's opinion about you, and then they put them in a way of dissatisfaction of you, but where we are human by end of the day. So prejudgment build up with time a lot of consequences where you need to fight it back, or you need to clarify yourself, where from the beginning no need for such a things from the beginning. That's why I don't like to be prejudged or prejudge others.
But you never faced an incident when somebody prejudged you, or put you in a specific category, or put you in a specific mold in their mind.
Yeah,
something like this?
yeah, I faced, and most probably in work, I've been perceived as an aggressive person, where I see myself as a very passionate person, which is totally opposite, which is a fine line between both of them. If I do something with love and I'm doing my best to prove it, doesn't put me in the aggressive zone, but it put me in the passionate zone. That's as per my understanding. But some people would perceive it, and they build on it, and they will put you in a bracket that they will never change it. And until till now, some people never change it. And to be honest, I don't want to prove any other person that it's wrong, because my actions one day will change. Some people change, some people, it's their brain to change it, not myself. I don't have anything to do with that.
Okay, and Nurhan, do people judge you, in a different way when they look at you? What kind of judgments did you get? Do always people give you the benefit of the doubt, or they usually don't judge you? They don't make any perceptions about you before they interact with you, or do other people do other stuff?
So I face two types of prejudgments. Like when I deal with the Western world, or people from Canada, America, or any other non-Arab or Western, or from the Western society. So I feel that I'm labeled as, whenever they see my appearance and whenever they hear that I'm a mother of four, they start to categorize me as a housewife who's uneducated, who maybe not working, not passionate about her career, or has nothing to do but to take care of the kids and have a very submissive character, these kind of labels. And another prejudgment that I faced was that I'm being arrogant. And this happens when I deal with the people from the Arab society, some of them, of course. But when I try to speak about what I'm passionate about, so it's a bit different from others. So they feel that I'm trying to show off. But on the contrary, I
Can you elaborate, please? What do you mean by?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, about teaching, for example. So if I'm sitting with a group of Arab ladies, we would be speaking about certain topics, and if I bring up examples about my students or about what has been done at work and da 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 da, so people who do not know me would prejudge me as, oh, she's showing off that she's a teacher, or that that she has students, and she, things like that. So I'm like torn between these two prejudgments.
Okay, so a bit of this, a bit of that, but there is always this prejudgment.
Yeah.
Okay, this question is for both of you, actually. Do you think that people today perceive things the way they used to in the past? And so are people more judgmental, less judgmental? Are people more lenient? Are they more extreme than the past in categorizing people? Like when you were a child, for example, did people judge others the way they judge them today?
Who should go first?
Whoever, please.
Okay, so I guess people's perspectives have developed a lot. So, for example, in 2016, and Naveen would remember this, I left my kids with my husband, who was very generously babysitting my kids while I went away for a 15-day educational trip to the US to present in a conference, an international conference, the TESOL conference. So, like, if I were to tell my grandmother that I'm leaving my kids, my 4 kids, 3 at that time, I'm leaving my kids with my husband to travel like across the Atlantic to present something in a conference, which is public speaking. And this would have been a big, oh, are you crazy? But when I told my mom, she was okay. She was encouraging me. She was very supportive. My friends were very supportive too, like Naveen and others were very supportive, and they were like, oh, very good. We're proud of you. So I guess people's perspectives are becoming more advanced and developed and progressive, if I may say that.
And Naveen, do you agree to this? Do you have a difference?
Yeah, I fully agree to what Noor is saying. People are a bit now more developed than before, or they have more tolerance to other people in general. Yet there is still people that they think differently. They still have this closed mindset that they do not accept others. But this will change. I think by time, everything will change. I also remember back in 2013 when I decided to start doing meditation, and just decided to tell my family that I'm traveling to a trip to Nepal where I never been to, backpacking. So, and I'm a single mom, by the way, so I dropped my daughter back home and I traveled all the way to Nepal with a backpack, doing something different. The first thing that happened is I told my grandmother, because she was my best friend, peace be upon her. So I told her, she never called me crazy at that time. She's in her 80s and she accepted the fact that I'm doing something different to get in touch with my soul, which is very important in this stage where I was at that time. That was, 2014. So when I traveled, my family, like my mom was a bit reluctant on why she's doing that. But by the time she knew that I'm doing the right thing, my dad was very supportive. So I think it's also the people around that where we get from them the support, that they give us the opportunity to learn and excel and change other people's minds. So I think every one of us is an ambassador for people, and to show a case of acceptance it's by itself. And accepting others is one of the main things that will change the world. Yet there is a lot of, as we have mentioned before, prejudgment, a lot of different styles when people think, and different mindset. And this is what makes us different. This will change, just need some time. Yeah.
Okay, so using a very, very classic perspective, but unfortunately, it's still abundant in some parts of the world. And of course, I'm not in any way judging you, but I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here. So if I'd look at Nurhan, I would say, oh, like she looks very conservative, so probably she's a very, very narrow-minded person, and she's not welcoming to other cultures at all, and she's always thinking negatively of people who look different than her. On the other hand, looking at Naveen, someone might say, oh, she's very liberal, so you know what? She's too easygoing, she's out of bounds, and so on. Were you ever subject to any of these, unfortunately, very negative ways of judgment? Did anybody ever judge you before this way? Starting with, please, yeah, go ahead, Nurhan.
Yeah, so I faced a lot of judgments like this, whether it's about being narrow-minded or having not having the right to take care of myself. Like, for example, I was shopping with a European friend of mine. We were like colleagues, not friends. So she did not know me very well. We were just going shopping because it was part of the trip, and it happened that we're shopping. And when she found out that I'm buying an evening gown, she was like, "Oh, where do you wear this?" And I was like, "We have parties too. We go to parties and we celebrate." And she was like, "Oh, really? And like, do you do your hair and do you wear makeup and things like that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I tried to elaborate more on what hijabi fun means. So yeah, so this, when it comes to appearance and the self-care. And when it comes to being narrow-minded, some people, when they see how accepting I am, they would think that I'm different than others. So they would ask me, the first thing they would ask me, "How long have you been here in Canada?" And when I say, for example, I was like a year old in Canada, they would say, "So do other people from your home country think the way you're thinking?" So this was like a very shocking, question to me. And at that time I said, yes, we have a lot of people who think the way that I do. Not everyone, of course, but a lot of them think the way I do. And this showed me that some people think that hijabi, Muslim, Arab originated women would have a very narrow mind and would not accept and tolerate others, and will not celebrate differences.
Thank you very much for sharing this with us, Norhan. And Naveen, did anybody judge you as someone who's totally out of bounds, like someone who's...
Yeah, definitely, yes. Not in the Arab world, it doesn't happen here that often, but when I was studying back in one of the European countries, so people would perceive me, I'm Muslim but not Muslim, like, because how I look like. But I have my own guides and I have my own rules. So not because I'm not wearing hijab, for example, that I go and drink and stuff like that. No, I do not. So I have my own rules. So they cannot get the difference between, I go out with people and we listen to music and we go maybe have fun together, but there is some rules. So they think because I'm not wearing this, that everything else I can do. And then in between comes the judgment part. I can accept a lot of things. So I started to change mentalities around people around me to understand more. Other thing in the beginning of the classes, because it was almost 2 years of studying, going back and forth. So the beginning, it was like they still think that we comes on a camels or stuff like that. So it's like not only based on hijab or no, but there is the mindset itself. It's very narrow-minded, and then you start on changing the mentality from looking into a person by how they look to what is it really inside them, and how they change the world maybe by only one word or sentence that you speak about ourselves in front of different mentalities, different countries, and different people. And my university has in the class we have 40 something people from 30 nationalities. So representation of the countries were very high in differences. So a lot of change in people personalities and people mindset have changed. So the good thing is one of the classes, one of the people, he's a Russian guy, is like, you change our personality, you can say, about people coming from this area, and even they don't call that at that time that the name or whatever. So now they change. I think they will be also ambassador for people from Egypt or from whatever country, because they can stop even the part of judging others and accepting that. Do not label anyone, because if you look at my look, that I'm not wearing hijab, but I'm a very liberal. Define liberal. Liberal means I accept others. It doesn't mean I'm breaking all the rules. I have my own rules. It doesn't make the other person in front of me define me with my rules. So that only happens when we talk to each other. And I think everyone in this world is an ambassador of something, and we put the labels for ourselves. And this is the message that we should send to the world.
Absolutely. So everything is very relative again. So how about bigotry in both of your lives here? Because sometimes, very unfortunately, someone has, some people have these molds in their head. They just made up on their own, and they try to, fit you in one of these molds by force. And if you don't, then they panic. They can't just define you as, like black or white. They would panic. And more unfortunate, actually, is that some of those people are bigots. So whatever is in their mind stays. So, first impressions last for those people. Did you face some people like that? So they judged you in a negative way at the beginning, and even after dealing with you for a long time, they still insist that you are this negative person? So, Naveen, please.
Yes, sure. First of all, I would ask myself a question regarding this person. Is this person important in my life? Yes or no? If no, out of my life. Because I'm not here to defend myself to anyone. If the person is important, I will try to manage to deal with the person by not attacking them, but by showing the real self. But again, I don't like the way that we have to defend ourselves all our lives, because we have more important things to do. So it's also based on prioritizing people in my life. So if the person worth the try and the fight for, then definitely I will try my best to show them different type of stories and different areas of judging people or looking into different peoples and having more acceptance and tolerance. Other than that, I don't think I would be much willing to deal with people who do not tolerate others if their importance is not as much as what is required from the efforts that will be invested in this.
And how often are you subject to something like this? How often do you deal with people who are bigots? People who would never change their mind. So they think that you're someone who's totally out of bounds, or you're this and that, and they would never change it. How frequently do you face people?
It's not very frequent. It's not very often. No, it's very rare times. And a couple of times I get out these people from my life, and I feel happier after, because it's a burden. It's kind of a mental burden that you do not want it to have it in your life. So if it doesn't make any sense, why should I carry this burden?
And you said that sometimes, but if this person means something to you, you would try to sort of reason with them. How do you do this? Is there sort of a guide that you can give us? Steps?
Yeah, I first start with for me, it's the most important and the least effortless one is by talking. So the talk is giving example of why I'm doing this and why I'm this situation, and why maybe some actions I did in the past, or they perceived me to be wrong in that, or I overjudge or whatever, something happened. Then I go to the story, I try to make it easier for them to understand or to look at it from my point of view. And then we take it from there. So then we have the discussion. Sometimes the same opinion will still be there, and sometimes they start asking more questions that will lead to a solution. And this also based on the importance of the person in front of me. And then we reach to a point of, okay, we accept our differences, but we still love each other. So sometimes we put a bird, like a guidelines that nobody goes and attack the other one in this time, because we love and appreciate each other in different ways. So if we didn't agree, doesn't mean that we don't love each other and still will not be friends or will not be family or whatever. So people with importance in my life, I always keep them dear. And I also put for myself some guides while dealing and like frame while dealing with these people. So do not, I will not like influence them wrong or get them understand me wrong, so that we not reach to this point, because they are dear to me. This is the only reason.
Okay, thank you very much. And Nurhan, again, like dealing with bigots. How do you deal with bigots, and how often did you deal with bigots in the first place?
So it would be in very rare situations that I've dealt with those kind of people, and usually after that I learn a lesson that I only search for the common grounds, and whenever we meet or whenever we have to deal with one another, so that we avoid all the conflict, the controversial parts that we had together, so that we maintain the relationship in a positive way.
Okay, and this is a little bit complex here, but let me try to convey it in a simple way as much as I can. So when some people are bigots, do you think this is like this comes naturally, or it's induced by jealousy maybe sometimes? So can bigotry be a result of jealousy sometimes? Can bigotry be a form of defense mechanism? So you're better than me, okay, technically, for example, you're smarter than me, or you have better skills, or you're more tech savvy than I am. And like the gap between us is really obvious. And for me to bridge that gap, it would take a lot of effort. So you know what? Because I can't reach you, I'll say that you're not good enough, you know, in another way. So I'll say, yeah, you're like, yeah, you're more tech savvy, you're smarter, but you are an evil human, or you are a human with no moral values, or with no ethics, or with no virtues. How valid is this point of view? Do you think that this happens sometimes? That some people would sort of throw this shadow on you just to satisfy themselves? You know, when someone who thinks that they are from a more superior culture than you are, but when interacting with you, they find actually, no, you're by far much better than them. So in order to satisfy themselves, in order to appease their own anger, to pacify their anger, they would throw this stereotype on you. Does this happen sometimes?
Yeah, it does. It does happen, and the justify for it is lack of self-confidence and lack of security. Sometimes people felt threatened, and you are, if from you, then appreciating what you're doing, and they think that by putting all the blame on another person that makes them better. But unfortunately, they're killing themselves slowly, and sometimes it happens. Like if you see it happening, majority of the time it will be within working time, or people working with you that mostly want to get the other place, whatever. If it happens in friendship, sometimes it happens, but luckily it doesn't happen to me, and it didn't before. But sometimes you abuse the relationship. Or if it happens, happen rarely, and you can easily tell, and you cut it shortly. But this is kind of abuse that people used to use it as a technique to make themselves look better. But till when? It's a very short period, and people will notice, like if not themselves. But unfortunately, they live in the same bubble, and they don't see the bigger picture. And one day, everything will be crystal clear to others, and all whatever they're building will fall in their head. So I think it happens. It's kind of happening everywhere, not only in our culture, but everywhere. And it's a bit demotivating for the person who's trying to take this ladder for success, because if they're facing the challenges of life, and again, people that they think they are here to support are the first people to break the ladder on them. So I think it just gets some pressure on the person themselves and stop them from growing.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate. It's a form of defense mechanism. It's psychological projection. So I cannot believe that this person is better than me. So I must find a scapegoat. I must just, like project my shortcomings or my failures on another thing. And sometimes it might be culture or looks or whatever. How about you, Nurhan?
So I do agree with both of you, and it is all based on ego. So those people are very threatened when their image is being questioned. Why this person can do this and you cannot? Okay, so they try to find faults in this person and cast shadows on them, and pointing fingers that they are not, or they look different, or they are not part of our community, or they are not a good image of this community to be a representative of us. So yeah, it's a defense mechanism, but it all is based on defending the ego, and it is something in the upbringing, I guess. So they were brought up in a way that if they cannot do something, they have to criticize it. So we deal with people a lot that have this in their traits. So as if critique will give them a superior hand. If they have the ability to critique, that means that they are better than the person. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And now, question to both friends here. So, starting again in alphabetical order. So, Naveen, how different is Nurhan from you? If you would like to summarize that, like, is she like an exact copy of yourself, or is she different? How different is Nurhan from you?
That's a tough question, to be honest, because everyone is different. Nurhan is such a beautiful human and soul. And the moment I met her, something between us felt that we are family, like from day one. As we would say, like it's not only a year or two; it's a long time friendship that will never end between us. The differences maybe by the looks, but the heart and love for each other is the same. And whatever we do, I think is more or less going in the same direction, but with different techniques, maybe. She's hijabi, I'm not. That doesn't make any difference for me. It's because for me, what I see is something that is related to me and God and Nurhan and God, and this, she never judged me in the same. I never judge her in the same. We actually used to go to Islam classes together, and we used to have iftar together, and this everything that make us, as you have said, like each other in a way. So we look at the similarities where we are different, and this is actually what brings us together. I never looked at what is different between us, because we are different, and this is the beauty of it. So I cannot have a hand on something if this is your question. Like, I love her the way she is, and I cannot compare myself to both of us and how different we are. The difference maybe by the looks, but any other thing is different, which make us beautiful as well.
Okay. So you are aware that there are differences, but it's not something that you tend to sort of magnify, but you would sort of
because we are both fighter. If I would say, she fights for her life, I fight for my life. We want to work, we want to have an impact in the societies we're living in. I want to have the same. So she's looking at it from, maybe now she's in Canada, but she's trying to do the same by even having such a videos together. When she asked me to come and join, I told her yes, for sure. But yeah, we share the same dream of helping others. So this make us together alike. But I work, for example, in telecom. She's a professor, but that's one different, if we can call this a difference, is we are both mothers, we are both fighters, we are both lovers, we are both like, if I looked at more similarities, I would say more, but at the end we have different mindsets. We have, but the core, I think, is going in similarity more than differences.
So different mindset in what way would you say?
This is like because for me, if I want, for example, I'm living here, I want to grow here, not in this country, but I want to take care of my daughter. I want to do stuff in business. This is the mindset for me to grow and to do businesses and to help communities. So for me, maybe my goal is different than her. She has a different goal in a different community to grow it in a different way. So that's based on her own plan. Now, for me, it's different because we are different humans. But the higher aim will be for something good, that's for sure. That's why I said similarities is on top, but whatever inside the plan will be different from a person to the other.
So you don't really put a lot of emphasis on differences, but you sort of look at the common ground, the common denominator that you know, is like something that is found in both of your characters here. And
because I'll tell you the reason why, because Nurhan is such an accepted person. She accepts others and she has tolerance towards others. Maybe Nurhan, if someone else, I would see the differences as a bit triggering a lot of things in me. But because in a way, Nurhan, she can absorb you in a way, and she will not let you feel the differences. She will let you feel that you're welcome to be her friend, and she will be welcome to be your friend as well. So the difference is here, you not feel it's a difference, you feel it's you and her are different. But you cannot say we are different in 1, 2, and 3, because then again, we're going into the labeling thing, which is something I don't like, because we are different. So that's what I have to say.
absolutely. Thank you very much. And Nurhan, same question.
So first, I would like to thank Naveen for her kind words. I'm speechless. And that is why we're friends. Not because we are mirroring each other. It's because of the differences, right? And if people see us together in the street walking together, they would know the only thing that is different is the appearance. And I'm sorry, I do not judge by appearance. Even God does not judge by appearance. It's only who comes with a pure heart. And Naveen has the purest heart. So I do not judge Naveen or other ladies, whether they are hijabis or not. But I do not put anyone in the category of a friend, except they meet certain criteria. So I have a checklist. And Naveen met all the requirements for the checklist. It is not about appearance. It is only about how the person is pure at heart, and how much influence would you, or how much enforcement would you put on others, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm dealing with Naveen, I do not feel that she's imposing her way on me. Neither do I, you know. So it's us being different, but I'm not making her, or I'm not asking her to do what I do, except if she likes doing that. Like, for example, when she said the example of going to the midnight prayers, or going to religious lessons, you know, these things, she likes to do these things. I never forced her to do that, because she has this in her heart. She wants to do it. So she comes and she attends. And on the other side, she does not force me to go out with her, you know, other friends. So we accept that we go out together in the common places which we agree upon, which I feel happy in, and she's happy in too. So part of the relationship success is whether you are imposing your beliefs on others or not. So I feel that Naveen and I, we never imposed what we think on each other.
Okay, so you always look at the common ground, and there's always personal space. You always respect this privacy. This privacy, don't really dig so deep in each other's businesses, unless, you know, you're maybe invited by the other party to do so, but you don't sort of drop in, you know, and you don't intrude really in other people's lives. So last but never least, really, is, so both of you are sort of stereotype, you know, bigotry, prejudice, stigma free. But many other people don't have this. So in your opinion, like, why are you like this? What is the source of bigotry, stigma, and stereotypes in your opinion? And what is the antidote against this? Naveen, please.
Sure. I think one of the main points Noura mentioned earlier is the upbringing, and the family plays a major role in the kids when they're growing older. So I think having this from the beginning and raising our children to have an impact in the society, never judge, never, and have the do and don't from a very early stage with a set of examples and not like an orders. This is what will bring a brighter children to the world, will be change makers in the future. So I think it all starts within the same family, because even if you started seeing in the schools, you see a lot of bullying using the same stuff. You see a lot of people judging others. The kids getting a lot of mental health problems, and they have issues because they've been bullied, because they've been misjudged, because of all of this stuff. So I think start right from your own house, and start by understanding what is the real meaning of these main keywords, and introduce it to your kids at a very early stage, so that if they will not do it, and they prevent others from even having it while they're around, because they will be stopping this from happening, and they have a role in the society, which is a bigger aim. If it's not us, if you're not doing the change, at least I always say, we always plant a seed in our kids. So if we died, the seed is still flourishing after we die. The seed will become a big tree or something. So let us all be one single tree, and this will help everyone. So home is the key.
So you think home is the key? Home is the real source against this. And Nurhan, like, you're living right now in Canada. You are a mother of 4 kids, and definitely, many times people who are living in Canada, parents as first-generation immigrants, and their children as second-generation immigrants. Many times there are a lot of conflicts that can happen between the 2 generations, because the first generation might think something, but the second generation would go with the flow, with the mainstream. So growing up in a very multicultural society, where people come from all walks of life, from all 4 corners of the globe, some people are really open-minded, others still come with their old baggage, with stigmas, stereotypes, and so on and so forth. What is the antidote? Like, if you're raising your children, to make them free from all of these negative ideas of stigmas, stereotypes, and so on.
Yeah, so as Naveen was saying, it is mainly the home. And what I teach my children is that we have a reference bar. And this reference bar is the behavior of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So Prophet Muhammad would have never judged someone by appearance, would have never bullied anyone because of their background or their origin, would have never, done those stereotyping or biases. So this is the reference bar which I teach my children to always have, their actions and their deeds cross-referenced with. So by this, I'm making sure that it is not like something that is misinterpreted, right? So because whenever we go in future times, things develop, progress, and they change. But this one thing is a fact that I teach my children to always have in front of their own eyes.
So never to judge anyone based on looks. Looks can always deceive.
Yes, and that only God is the one to judge us, not us.
Okay, so you don't judge people based on looks, based on belief, based on gender, based on sex, based on the color of their skin, based on their race, their political affiliation, none of this.
Yes. Even if I do not agree with what they are doing, I know that I do not agree with what they are doing, but I keep it for myself. And I do not act or change my attitude towards them because of this choice that they have made.
Okay, okay. So you don't have this sort of elitist, um, chauvinist way of looking at other people that, I'm this way, so I'm better than other people. Um, I'm sorry to ask this question, but um, again, I'm playing the role, the devil's advocate. I must play that role. So somebody might listen now and say, you're saying, okay, you're setting the bar as from a religious perspective,
Mm.
from the prophet's point of view. But is this your only reference? How about you as a human, just as a human, period, per se? Like,
Um,
is it only religion that is your sort of frame of reference?
because
Or
this is the most tolerant person I read about. So that is why, but this is how I try this is the person I try to match up with. So even if it's not a religious like figure, like people would say Gandhi or Mother Teresa, or those prominent figures. So I would say that these are non-religious or religious. So it's based on choice, right? So and this figure is the most tolerant I've ever read about and heard about. So that is why I keep him as a reference for my kids.
but you're open again to learning from Mother Teresa, from
Of
Buddha,
course.
from any other person.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I wouldn't like leave a chance without learning something new from whoever person, as long as this will benefit me as a person and my personality and my kids. So yeah.
Well, at the end of this interview, I really, really can't thank you enough for your great insight. I really benefited a lot myself from this, great interview with both of you. At the end, I can only say thank you very much, Naveen, for joining us from Bahrain. I know there's a huge time difference between us here, and thank you very much, Norhan, for joining us here from Canada. And dear viewers, if we were sort of to recap here, you know, if we were just to take the facade off the skin, we are exactly the same. You and I are exactly the same. We all have one brain, one nose, one mouth, and four limbs here. We all dream of a better future for our kids. We want peace. We want serenity, tranquility. This is what we want for our lives, I believe. Everyone wants this. And the very strange thing, is that no human, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any human would settle for one meal for the rest of their life. So even if you love pizza, for example, but if you have pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 24/7, until the last day of your life, I don't think you'll like it. You'll hate it. You wouldn't listen to one tone, like, even we say someone who's like a monotone is monotonous, like we don't like that. No one is monochromatic. No one likes only one color. I don't think you like one color at all, and that's why everybody loves the rainbow, because there is the contrast, there is this variety here. We cannot wear the same shirt all the time. So why is it, like, we appreciate and we love the differences in everything, but not in us? That's very strange. A green tree would never grow without a blue river and a red-ish sun. Without this variety of colors and things, life will not be there. So differences, are the source or the sources of life here. And this is why we've all learned things. You and I and everyone here on this planet are the total of all the previous civilizations that lived here on this world. We've learned a lot from ancient Mesopotamians, ancient Indians, ancient Persians, Romans, Greeks, ancient Egyptians. We've learned a lot from the Aztecs, from the Incas, from the Aboriginals that lived in North America and Australia. We learned a lot from medieval Germany. We learned a lot from Sweden, from Russia, from et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is not a single culture or country that did not contribute to our humanity. And this is what we are. This is the variety. This is the beauty of it. The salad bowl that we're living in. You know, it does not have to be a melting pot. We don't all just have to go in and then, like, you know, melt. And then that's it. Everyone would lose their identity. No. How about a salad? You know, you have your cucumbers, your lettuces, your green onions, your tomatoes, all together in the bowl. Eat them together. But you can still see the tomatoes, the onions. So the beautiful thing is, just like the salad bowl, we're all together. We work all together. Because the more ingredients we put in the salad bowl, the more tasty it'll become. So it's great for us to have these differences, to work together with our differences, but again, to have this personal distance. So tomatoes don't become onions, onions don't become lettuces. They're still there together, but still, you know, keeping and preserving their own identity. Dear viewers, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Until we meet again, please take very good care.